There we go. Had the camera in reverse. And for those of you watching on the replay, I don't want any nasty messages saying that you were sitting too long just staring at me. I can't start the live when we don't have enough people in the chat. And I'm starting early today, so we have a big fat 0 right now. It's just me, myself, and I. So if you are watching this on the playback, you may want to fast forward 3 or 4, maybe even 5 minutes. I explain that at the beginning of most of my videos, so for those of you that are not happy about the delay, well, then you don't have to watch. But this is important. We need to talk about something serious here today. I'm not going to make this a long one. I always say that and it ends up going way too long, but this is important. Okay, hey, Kermudge. Yeah, I'm on a little early today, Kermudge. I'm going to see if I get enough people in here. I need to talk about this. Too many people are sending me messages and wanting me to address this, so I guess it's time to bite the bullet. But thanks for listening, Kermudge. Oh, now my kitty, she's gonna start screaming. Hey, Jewel. I'm doing okay. I still didn't get a good night's sleep last night. Hi, Jane. Wow, 5 people. It's 2:28 in LA. Let's just give it a few more minutes. And I am sitting at my desk, so if the camera seems to be shaking, that's just my elbow. I'm sorry. Hey, kitty. You have your food? Let me see. Oh, yeah, you've got plenty of food. It may be one of those where she's going to be a screamer. And I'll have to put her in the bedroom. That's the problem with my sleep, is before it's time to get up to take my blood pressure meds, she starts screaming now in the morning, and she has plenty of food, and then I freshen her food, and then the bunny's like, hey, feed me too, and then now can we all go to bed? And she'll just run and play and scream for an hour. 4:28 in Houston. Let's give it a few more minutes. Thank you for being patient. You know, somebody came in and made a nasty comment yesterday on one of my videos because they're like, I don't want to sign in to see you just staring at the screen. And I was like, see ya. I didn't block them. I can't wait to get monetized, so you know, I'll make clicks off of those kind of people. But I can't start a live, especially with an important topic like this, without giving, you know, a chance for a few people to come in. 5:29 where you are, Jane. Hey, Kelly. Nice to see you. I hope you're feeling a little better today. Okay. We're not going to do this during my live. This is a very important subject. Come here. Let me show you to the people. This is Kelsa. She's a handful, just like her namesake. But she's so beautiful. I love her so much. Okay, let me put her in the bed, and I'll be right back. She's got her litter box in there, so she'll be fine. Okay, I need to talk about something. This is going to be hard. I would never come onto my channel and bash a fellow YouTuber, and I'm not going to do that today either. When this Nancy Guthrie case first started, because I've been reporting on this since February the 2nd, a lot of people from the very beginning of my chat was like mentioning this JLR. So I checked them out. It was very early on in the case, when he was still in Florida, long before he came out boots on the ground. He was talking about that whenever I would watch him, like, oh, maybe I should get out there. Should I, shouldn't I? He was debating whether he should go. And I would tune in every now and then, but, you know, he's a professional YouTuber. He's out there 15 hours a day. He's banking 25, 30 grand a week, so they claim. You know, I don't have time to watch all these other YouTubers. I just check in occasionally. And I usually check in with more of the mainstream news than just some, non-real investigator. I mean, you can investigate all you want, but in this state, you can't call yourself an investigator unless you are. Well, you can't call yourself a private investigator, and he's never said that. His channel name is JLR Investigates. And no, yeah, she's not starving. So I just did a Google search on the guy. I didn't investigate him. I did a Google search, and I was like, oh boy. And I kind of just had a bad vibe. I mean, he seemed like a decent guy, but I had a bad vibe. Something told me, before I respond to any of your comments, let's just put his name into Google, or not even his name. I didn't even know his name. Let's just put JLR Investigates. And it opened up a whole can of worms. And I went, oh, he's a professional plaintiff. And the internet claims he's got anywhere between 2,500 and 4,000 lawsuits or more. But it's kind of hard to count those because in civil cases, unlike criminal cases that are recorded by date of birth and they have criminal databases, there is no national or even state database search for civil files because you have Superior Court, Municipal Court, Small Claims Court. Some courts are online with search abilities. Some courts are online without search abilities. Some online court searching only goes back a specific number of years. So the only way you could know how many civil files or filings that someone has made would be to go to every state and go to every court. In LA, we have like 50 some districts. So there'd be 50 places right there in LA, unless you went to one of the main courts that would give you the main, but there's 50 different courts you could end up at. And if you happen to file some of these lawsuits under aliases, then you would not even know, because most civil cases have no social security number identification, no date of birth, no address, no driver's license. But the internet, oh, 15 people. Everybody give me a sub and a thumbs up. Heart that screen. These are approximate numbers. And everything I'm going to report to you is alleged except for the criminal part. I also found out, and this is way before this thing with this girlfriend blew up, that he is an ex-con. He has served time in federal prison. It's for financial related crimes. I think it was something like credit card scheme or fraud, and that goes really along with people that are professional claimants as far as civil lawsuits. That also goes along with people that file insurance claims chronically, and those people are called professional claimants. I've had a lot of cases where someone is a professional claimant, a professional plaintiff, and a convicted felon. Okay, so I deal with these types of people. I did in my career all day long. Yes, sunshine days. That's your opinion, Rick, but I might have to agree with you. This week, apparently, a woman filed a restraining order against him. It's called a TRO. At least that's what they call it in California, a TRO, temporary restraining order. And basically, anybody can go down to the court, fill out the form, show some evidence. You get a hearing, and then a judge makes a decision that I'm going to grant this to you or I'm not going to grant this to you. Now, that doesn't mean that the person that's being accused is being charged criminally. You don't even have to show up sometimes, and they'll just grant that TRO by default. So a woman who also apparently reportedly has what was described as a colorful background is involved in this. And I'm going to talk about the civil stuff too. We are talking, but we're not going to bash. We're going to talk about JLR Investigates. And I've hesitated to do this video from the day that I heard about who he is, and everybody kept saying, "Are you watching? Are you watching? Check this guy out." I went to his channel. I had a bad feeling, or a weird feeling. Not a bad feeling, but I just was picking up some weird vibes. I typed his name or the channel name into Google, and oh boy. And I thought, karma does catch up. The truth will come out, but it's not going to be April Davis. And this week, the truth has come out. Kelly Ray, TROs don't help at all, really, right? You have to call police if a person violates. Well, they do help because if somebody violates, the police can arrest them. But then they're in and out in 15 minutes in California, truthfully. But it helps because it documents future civil actions and criminal actions. Let me tell you what I found out. First of all, we're going to talk about the potential criminal aspect. So if I miss your comments, I just have to read a few things here. And this is online. These are not my words. This is what's been reported. True crime YouTube star Jonathan Lee Riches, also known as JLR Investigates, is accused of brutally beating, strangling, and threatening to kill a former girlfriend, she claims. Now that's very important. She claims. Remember, everybody here on my channel is innocent until proven guilty. I'll read your comment. I'll have to scroll backwards in just a moment, everybody. Let me make sure I'm hooked up here on my desktop so I can make sure I'm getting the, let me turn off the volume. Hopefully we're not having, I might have to go back, but just let me finish reading this. In a sworn petition filed in Arkansas, and you guys can comment, that's why we're all here, Jamie Tennille Phillips claims Riches, 49 years old, carried out a violent attack on Christmas Eve 2025, capping what she describes as a years-long pattern of abuse that included him repeatedly strangling her. The filing obtained by the Post alleges Riches, a convicted felon who spent 10 years in federal prison over a credit card fraud scheme. Now, I knew this from the beginning because I'd already found this, and I have not done a background investigation. I will get to all your comments. Hello, Rita. Oh, thank you, Kelly. I will get to all your comments in a few minutes, but keep talking to each other. Okay, 10 years. Okay. He was in a relationship with Phillips beginning early 2023 that spiraled into a persistent and escalating pattern of domestic abuse, coercive control, intimidation, financial exploitation, and physical violence. Allegedly. Oh, thanks, Kelly, for running the chat for me. And there's a picture of her. According to a handwritten affidavit, the alleged December 24th assault left Phillips with extreme injuries, including a broken nose and septum, significant trauma to her head and ribs. Her words, she says, significant trauma to my head and ribs, requiring emergency medical care, CT scans, and x-rays, and that she will need reconstructive surgery. Hello, Leanne. Remember, everybody in the comments, keep it friendly. I'm not bashing another YouTuber. And no, there's no jealousy here. I don't care that he's allegedly making 25 to 30 grand a week. That's his job. That's what he chooses to do. I've actually lost money because I'm not monetized yet, and I've had to replace equipment during this series. So this has nothing to do with jealousy or money. People have been sending me texts. People have been sending me emails. I get at least 5 questions in a live, like, hey, what about this guy? So I finally, very early on, actually, I started watching and I started finding these things out. Now, Phillips, the ex-girlfriend, claims Riches assaulted her on multiple occasions, beat her with a closed fist in a separate alleged August 2025 attack, strangled her roughly 24 times, and threatened to kill her if she reported him, the filing alleges. Now, that was on the application for the TRO. She also alleges ongoing harassment after the Christmas incident, which took place in Washington State, which I found interesting, including threats, intimidation, and financial abuse. On January 21st, 2026, the court issued an order of protection, finding there was sufficient evidence Phillips faced an immediate and present danger of domestic abuse. Okay, this is all alleged, but a judge did grant it, a court judge. Riches has not responded to the allegations, and he and his lawyer did not return the Post's request for comment. I don't know how to pronounce this. Chelan, Chelan, County Sheriff's Office in Washington sent the Post an incident report which says they had probable cause to arrest Riches, but he left the state. He has not formally been charged in relation to the incident. Now, that's important. He has not formally been charged in relation to this incident, and no warrant appears to have been issued for his arrest. Now, it's also hard to find warrants without a national database, just like how I explained the civil files, when people are professional plaintiffs, why it's so hard to come up with the exact numbers. The same thing can even be for criminal, even though they're usually identified by date of birth, although LA is now removing that part that's available to the public, so it's getting harder and harder to weed people out, and you can't put something in a report that's not absolutely confirmed. The courts are getting more lenient now towards the criminals. Phillips herself has a colorful past. Now, that's important. Having been accused in 2017 of fabricating a story about being impregnated by Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore as a teenager, which she tried to get the Washington Post to run. You have to think about that too. If she really is a storyteller, you have to think about that too. But I was already, my antenna was up the day I started watching. My antenna was up, and I will scroll back through your messages as best I can. But you need to hear this, and I'm just reporting this. I'm not confirming any of this, except for the order. Now, I haven't seen the order, but apparently that order was accepted by a judge. It's all over the news. The only thing he cares about is money. He doesn't care about the cases. He loves when there's a mass shooting. He gets all excited because he knows he'll get a lot of views and a lot of money. That's what she says. Riches reinvented himself as JLR investigates, which is okay as long as he doesn't say that he's a private investigator. If he says that and he's not, then he's really in trouble. It's a YouTube channel which has grown to more than 500,000 subscribers around 3 years ago after a lifetime of frauds, fakeries, and manipulation. Most recently, he has been broadcasting from Tucson, Arizona, outside the house of missing Nancy Guthrie. He's basically a big celebrity in the true crime community, fellow true crime streamer Alina Smith told the Post. I've never heard of her. I've heard of JLR, not before this Nancy Guthrie case, but I've never heard of her. Riches has gained a reputation for being one of the most persistent streamers, filming for up to 15 hours a day. Now, I got to give him a thumbs up for that. Responding to questions in real time and accepting money from viewers to complete tasks, such as zooming in on certain parts of a crime scene. And that sounds a little sketch to me. I would never do that. But I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm a YouTube failure so far. The more subscribers he gets, the more profitable his YouTube videos become. This is a guy I mentioned a few times where someone was saying, hey, you're getting $100 every 10 minutes through Super Chats. And he probably is. Let's see. Let me say this again. The more subscriber he gets, the more profitable his YouTube videos become, regardless of whether the information he reports is fact or fiction. Now, I have to agree with that. That's why he was in Tucson for over a month. It's easy money for him because he just sets up a camera and lets it go. Then this is per the ex-girlfriend Phillips. Other streamers have estimated to the Post that he makes up to $30,000 a week with his persistent boots-on-the-ground approach. And I do enjoy some of his content. I really do. But I know his background. So I wouldn't trust him as a friend. Let's just say that. And I know you guys talk amongst each other and we'll go through the comments, but we need to talk about this a little more. His audience are likely aware of just how sinister Rich's past is. I think they're missing a word, his. Oh, they're saying his audience is likely unaware of his past. And I think so. I thought, oh my God, I want to say something so bad during my lives, but I can't. Everybody give me a thumbs up. Kelly, I need you just keep running the chat for me. I don't think about the long-term consequences. No, I missed a line. In 2019, he openly admitted being a troll and fabricating highly sensitive information after he was called out for pretending to be Jewish and giving a fake backstory at a Trump rally. I don't think about the long-term consequences as far as disinformation or offending anyone, Rich is told the Huffington Post in 2019. Yeah, he doesn't give an F. The disinformation that I want, I can put out there. The next mass shooting, before they identify the shooter, I can set up 10 Twitter accounts looking like news sites and then create whoever I want as the shooter. Vulnerable, gullible people will see that. They think it's a form of a news site, and then they will copy it and tweet it out. Yes. Rich's operation has drawn criticism from authorities and journalists alike as he is part of a growing ecosystem of YouTube crime scene streamers who monetize tragedy by broadcasting from active investigations. However, Rich's notoriety long predates the live stream era. I saw Nancy Grace mention something about him, and I almost fell off the couch and died because I know Nancy and I know how she thinks. And even though I'm not a lawyer, I think like a lawyer, and she's a great lawyer. You know, she won every case she ever prosecuted. And if she knew all this, and I've also noticed that some of her stories now are 5 to 6 days behind, where, you know, they put out like, this is day 51, but it's really day 46. Or when she did her new show on HLN, and, you know, because she wanted to have dinner with her kids, and she'd scream at the TV, live, we're live. And it was like 12 hours before. Well, this new show that's online, sometimes it's days old information. This is a couple days old. I'm committing the same problem here, maybe, but I had to get the nerve to. I wanted to tell you guys because I feel like you're my family, you're my friends. Just be careful. You can watch. I watch the guy, not all the time. A few minutes here and there, and not even every day. But what? There's an old cliche. Watch out for a wolf in sheep's clothing or something like that. If anybody knows that, you can put it in the chat. Now, they're going to talk about the fraud ring and federal prison sentence. According to federal court records, Rich's was indicted in 2003 in the Southern District of Texas, alongside several co-defendants for a credit card fraud scheme. The indictment claimed the conspirators used stolen financial data to obtain money and property through fraudulent transactions. And that's serious stuff. That's felony stuff. Rich's was arrested in Florida in February 2003 and brought to Texas to face the charges, entering a guilty plea to conspiracy and wire fraud counts in September, probably to get a lesser sentence because they had him dead to right. Don McWhorter, they are like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Yes, thank you. So he pled guilty. A federal judge sentenced him to 125 months in prison. Now, this was federal prison where you're going to have to serve most of your time for wire fraud and 60 months for conspiracy, but they ran concurrently. So he was serving those 60 months for conspiracy at the same time that he was serving 125 months for wire fraud. Now, he also was fined $92,680 in restitution to victims, which means you have to make payments. It's like a payment plan. And until your pocket is empty, you pay restitution for as long as you can to the victims. Most people never pay it. And there's a picture here of him where he's wearing a yarmulke, and he's got a sign with the Star of David saying Jews for Trump. But it's all BS because he's not Jewish, apparently. Now, while incarcerated, now this is the part that really, really gets me because I've investigated so many people like this, and they're just like the people we were talking about regarding Joseph Duggar, like as far as their ability to be able to be rehabilitated. I've never seen in any of my cases where professional claimants, professional plaintiffs get rehabilitated. I'm just saying. The sheer volume. No, here we go. While incarcerated, Rich's flooded federal courts with thousands of bizarre, frivolous lawsuits targeting politicians, companies, public figures, and celebrities, including one against the Kardashian family. And I can't knock them because I actually have handled things for them in the past through other agencies. For some of the most famous lawyers in the world, I was paid the same day. I'm not going to bash the Kardashians. Including one against the Kardashian family for allegedly participating in Al-Qaeda training. I had never heard that one before. The cases were quickly dismissed. The sheer volume of Rich's lawsuits, estimated at over 4,000, ultimately forced federal prosecutors to seek an unprecedented nationwide injunction against him to prevent him from suing. He was also banned from having paper in his cell. Now, I explained at the beginning of this video, if you're just coming in, the criminal database system is not the same as the civil court system. There is no federal or state databases for civil filings. And you have small claims, municipal, superior. You have 50 states plus DC. And think how many counties just somebody like Texas or California or New York has. You would have to hit every city, every county, every court. It would be literally thousands, and not all of them are online. That's why this is an estimate. When someone comes to me and they want a civil search, I have to pull my hair out. But I've been doing it for years. But if I have to do it now, I just have somebody go to the court for me. Remember, the internet online databases, they're only an investigative tool. Okay, now, because he was banned from having paper in his cell, they are claiming in response, hey, hold on, that's my friend DeAndre. Let me tell him I'm in a live. Yes, sir.
Can I leave this here with your pickup mail?
What?
Can I leave this here with your pickup?
Oh, yeah. I'm just on a YouTube live. Go check me out. April Davis, PI.
Really?
Yeah, I'm doing a big crime series right now. Okay, thank you. Sorry, people. That's my famous friend DeAndre. I'm so sorry. He didn't know. Okay, so as I said, probably for the third time, he was also banned from having paper, like this, a piece of paper in his cell. In response, Riches went on a hunger strike for 22 days, and a warden had him force-fed through a feeding tube. I can't make this up. Oh my God, I hope everybody shares this video because I know there's not a lot of people available at this time of the day. Now, he was also accused of being involved in a Sandy Hook hoax, which, if this is true, it's despicable. After being released in 2012, Riches returned to Pennsylvania on supervised release, but almost immediately found himself back in legal trouble. He traveled to Newton, Connecticut, one of my home states, 3 days after the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre that left 20 first graders and 6 staff members dead. He attended a memorial where he falsely claimed to be the uncle of gunman Adam Lanza. Remember the kid that had the weird eyes? And he had his head was like this? Oh my God. That child should have been in a mental hospital. But he came onto the scene and pretended to be that child's uncle. And of course, the mother couldn't say that he wasn't because the mother, she was one of the victims too. He said he was Jonathan Lanza and made unsubstantiated claims about the shooter's mental health, which were quickly debunked. I don't know what he said or did. Remember, I never heard of this guy until the beginning of the Nancy Guthrie case. Sorry, I have to hydrate. Okay. 3 days later, Riches posted a YouTube video of the trip in which he attempted to approach Lanza's home before being stopped by a police blockade. Now remember, this is all alleged. I can't prove any of this, but I'm sure we could if we tried. I can only tell you that there's a restraining order, but he has not been charged with a crime for that. We are truth seekers, and we are going to find out why Adam was mind-controlled and manipulated to go in and allegedly shoot little kids in Sandy Hook Elementary School, and why this has happened, Riches said in the clip, as reported by the New Haven Register. A few weeks later, Riches found himself back behind bars again for violating the terms of his probation by crossing state lines. From there, his phony lawsuits kept coming. Oh my God. My blood pressure is going up right now. A few weeks later, okay, we already said that. March 2, 2016, he filed a civil action against Representative. Oh, this is the worst. To me, this is worse than the Sandy Hook incident. He filed a civil action against Representative Gabrielle Giffords. Remember Gabby Giffords in Tucson? Posing as the man who shot her and killed 6 people several years earlier. According to a criminal complaint, he got a criminal complaint filed. he posed as Jared Loughner, the gunman who tried to assassinate Giffords. The complaint sought $25 million. So he sues Gabby Giffords for $25 million, according to this, but he doesn't do it under the name Jonathan Lee Riches. He does it under the name of the actual gunman, Jared Loughner. Oh my God. Riches pleaded guilty to a charge. He pleaded guilty to a charge of making false statements, according to court records, and was sentenced to only 5 years probation. Okay? He later told the Arizona Republic that he filed the fake lawsuit as a joke to entertain himself in prison. Riches was released from federal prison in May 2016, according to the Bureau of Prisons Inmate Locator. I'll have to check that one out. However, his headline-grabbing stunts and questionable antics continue to evolve. You know what? I had a case like this once, and I can't name the person, but it was for the state of California. That was my client, the state of California. Made more money from them than anybody else I've ever worked for. And they had a guy like this, and everybody in California knew who he was. Everybody. Even the bureau that licenses us PIs and security people. Everybody. This guy was famous. And this reminds me of that case. During Bill Cosby's trial, and there's one sentence here I don't understand. Maybe you guys could explain it to me. During Bill Cosby's trial in September 2016, he showed up in court repeatedly, offering the disgraced rapist Jell-O each time he entered. What does that mean, offering the disgraced rapist Jell-O each time he entered the court? Weeks later, he surfaced in Florida alongside then gubernatorial hopeful Andrew Gillum, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right, posing as a Black Lives Matter protester. Some of his most audacious acts came from disguising himself as both a Muslim and a Jewish attendee at political events, including rallies for now President Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. He confirmed to the Huffington Post that he was an atheist from a Christian family and confirmed at the time he didn't practice any religion. Okay? Now, he then becomes a live stream investigator. In recent years, Riches has attempted to reinvent himself online under the brand JLR, that stands for Jonathan Lee Riches, Investigates. And he doesn't claim to be a licensed private investigator because he'll be if he ever does that, and he's not, he'll be charged with a crime. That's a very serious crime in our state. While he markets himself as a crime scene investigator chasing the truth behind high-profile cases, critics say his appearances often amount to nothing but exploitation, interference, and the spreading of disinformation. And I had already figured this one out, but I didn't mention it to you, but I'm going to mention it now. In one such incident, a business card was left on Nancy Guthrie's front door. Riches told his viewers she might have been at the center of an active elder abuse case prior to her disappearance. Now, he might have really believed that, or he was just saying that for views. The card turned out to was from a case manager for Arizona's Adult Protective Services Division, who later confirmed it had dropped by after she was reported missing so she could contact the agency if she returned home safely. Apparently, that is protocol in Arizona for that agency to visit the home and leave a card on someone that has been filed as an official missing persons. I figured that out pretty quickly. But, it could have been possible that a social worker was coming there in relation to something that someone had reported in the past. But it turned out, in Nancy Guthrie's case, that wasn't the case. A lack of information leads to speculation, Riches told the Republic while live streaming outside Guthrie's home in February. So that statement is an indicator that he knows what he's doing. He's stirring the pot. Click, 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 click. $30,000 a month? Oh my God. That's more than I get in disability benefits in a year. And I'm not jealous. The truth will come out. And once people, see the truth, he may not do so well. The practice mirrors a growing trend highlighted in recent reporting by the Post about YouTubers who earn thousands of dollars from live streams outside active investigations, broadcasting theories and commentary to viewers. And there's nothing wrong with that. I brought in more viewers than I've ever brought, but I am not yet monetized. I am not trying to make money off of a tragedy. I redid the count yesterday. During this entire time that I've been reporting this since February 2nd, I have received donations totaling $14. $14. My YouTube bill just to replace the transmitter, or no, the receiver and the receiver adapter to the iPhone, even though there was nothing wrong with the mics, I had to buy a whole new kit. And I bought another kit too, but it was crushed. So I got a little bit of maybe a $20 credit back because the one kit that I was really interested in, it arrived crushed. They had packed it in the box crushed. And then I had to order some of the extra adapters because they're this big and they don't fit in the case and they disappear. Okay, so I'm actually in the hole for this. And if we can have a party, hopefully, either this month or next month, because I do hopefully get remonetized, I'm still starting again at zero. I have never done this channel for the money. I never intended to be monetized the first time. I received 2 small checks. I've got probably $5,000-6,000 into this already. And I've received a couple $100 in payment, 2 years ago or whatever it was. I have never done this for the money. If I get remonetized, every penny that I make, every super chat, every donation, is just going to go right back at the channel. And if it blows up and I can make enough money to pay myself back for all the expenses since 2020, I'll pay myself back and I'll use it for grocery money. Okay. I know I'm getting heated here, but I deal with scumbags like this. Okay, I'm going to the beginning on the computer so I can see the chat. Let's see. We saw Kermudge and Jewel. Hi, Jane. Kelly, thank you. Dawn says hello. Hello, Dawn. Rick Young sounds like a dangerous man. Oh, I think so. Dawn says, what did I miss? Go back to the beginning. Why does TSA let Muslims on planes? That sounds a little racist to me. We don't like make fun of anybody here. TROs don't help at all, really, right? Yes, they do, especially in celebrity stalking cases. I'm not trying to disagree with you, but I've, probably dealt with 1,000 of those in my career. Dawn says, what I thought was weird about him is that he had these strange people around looking for Nancy. I thought he and them was really strange. Yeah, my alarm bells went off from the very first time I saw him before he even arrived in Tucson. But I didn't mind, the few minutes of coverage that I saw from him every time. Now, I'm sure some of these people that commented got mad and left. Rita says hi. Hi, Rita. Dawn says, I thought there was something off about him. Sorry, not sorry. Hey, Jet Set, I didn't see you come in. I gotta breathe, calm down. Yeah, I'm taking all of this with JLR a grain of salt. Exactly, because there's 2 sides to every story, and I'm not quite sure what happened here. And here on the YouTube streets get blown out of proportion. Hello, Leanne. Thank you for watching my videos. You're binge watching, as Kelly is. Dawn says, I understand. April is finding and showing us a recent situation that could be life or death. Thank you, Kelly. I haven't seen this person before. G. Krebs, I think you're great. Thank you for all you do for us. That means a lot to me, G. Krebs. Where are you coming in from? Hello back to you. Like I said, this has cost me money. When I sat at my desk, I get tangled up in my cords. And you know what? It happened again before I went on the air, but my phone wasn't attached yet. But my broken ring light fell over. I was just like, oh my God, again, this is like the 3rd time I've got tangled up in this sitting at my desk. Okay, let me keep going. Thank you, though, G. Krebs 6636. It means the world to me. Dawn, can't imagine having that on your shoulder and go about like nothing is wrong. Because some people, and I'm not saying him because I don't know him, but some people are psychopaths or they're compulsive liars, and it doesn't bother them at all. They thrive off of that type of behavior. She says it's sad. Yeah. Kelly, thank you. She's like our own personal TV show that we can interact with. Yes. And I did start early today before I lost my nerve. Kelly shouted out Roy Moore from Alabama. Yeah, I don't know that name. I have lived in Alabama for many years as a child, but I don't know anything about their politics. Dawn says, that's crazy. Go with your gut, April. You have a good PI senses. That's the only thing in this life that I was born to do. I had those spidey senses when I was a toddler, and it blew away my parents every time, especially my dad. I remember meeting my French Canadian stepmom. And, that's not her accent. I can't do the Canadian accent. But he would tell her, like, oh, yeah, she could spot anybody that was going to be in prison or a mental hospital. Or since I was a baby, I would warn my parents, like, be careful about that neighbor, or be careful about this neighbor's kid. Or I was right every time. Oh, this person's going to end up in prison before they're 18, serving as an adult. This person's going to end up dead. Right every time. This teacher at school is going to kill somebody. Yep. The lady at the supermarket who wants the killers to be found and put to the electric chair. And it turned out it was her own son. And I told my mom, don't talk to that woman. She works at the store. Somebody in her family could be involved. I was right about that. This is what I was meant to do. It is sad that they get away with things that we never would, says Kelly. I never watched him because April seemed to not value his information, so I never read his stuff. Yeah, he's a very good broadcaster because he's much younger than I am, and obviously as a guy, so he's healthier. Guys seem to have, better health than us women. Kelly Ray, no, you aren't doing anything wrong. You just tell us it is days old if it is. Okay, thank you. Oh, Dawn corrected me. They are like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Yes, that's the correct saying. Thank you, Dawn. I knew I had it only semi-right. Hi, Teresa. Where are you coming in from? Dawn. Wow, I wouldn't trust sending him money. Oh, like when someone said, oh, you're making $100 in super chats, JLR, every 10 minutes, I think they might have underestimated that. I don't know if you guys, since I don't know how many of you here are YouTubers, but there's something, and I'd love to see it happen once I get remonetized if that happens, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself here. There's something called a super thanks or a super chat or a super sticker chain. And if you donate like during a live or during a premiere, they put it up at the top. They put your name and there's how much and there's a color, and depending on the amount, there's different colors and there's different stickers. There's different things that you can type in a message or you can't. And they only stay up at the top of the page for, a few seconds to a few minutes. So some of these big YouTubers will go on and say, let's start a super chat chain, or let's start a super thanks chain or a super sticker chain. And then all these different names pop up and it goes like a train, like train cars that are connected to each other. I've seen that on his channel where he did, like every day, whenever I've, like, oh, there's the super chat chain. It just keeps going and going and going. Kelly says, we should tell 3 people to watch this video. It would be great for her stats and wouldn't cost us a thing. Yeah, exactly. You could even include this link and send in private email or text to people. Let's see, really didn't know that about civil cases. Oh yeah, it's very complicated. And if you're it depends on what you're using them for. Are you using, they're public record, by the way. But are you using them in just a general background investigation on someone? Are you using them in an employment, a pre-employment? Because you can't investigate someone once they've signed their name on the dotted line and they work for you. It has to be pre-employment. And there's all these rules that constantly change. Then there's tenant applications backgrounding. So there's tenant laws, there's employment, pre-employment background laws, and there's just, hey, I just want to investigate this guy that my daughter's going to date. As long as it's public information, you can pull it. But if it's for something more important like employment or renting, you have to be extraordinarily careful what you put in the reports. And if you break one damn law, you can get sued for thousands of dollars. And your E&O insurance won't cover you when you go to court. And a judge says, hey, you've been a PI for how long and you didn't know this? This is for errors and omissions. This was intentional F up and you lose. I've never had a claim thus far, thank God, because the cost, I have to cover $5 million a year. But I'm not active hardly anymore. So that's a different story. Yeah, Kelly, civil cases are very, very hard to pin down. So that's why this 2,500 to 4,000 or more is only an estimate. He found the sneaky way to get the money. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him, in my humble opinion. That's what I wanted to say from you guys. Just be careful. It's just like be careful who you date, or be careful who you marry, or be careful who your neighbors are. Look at Jim Bob Duggar, and he's always got that hi, and then his wife talks like a baby. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. They're as fake as can be, and they're dangerous. So his personality comes across really nice on TV, on the YouTube. But there are ulterior motives to some of these people. But I'm not going to say anything negative. He's a fellow YouTuber. He's like a million times more successful than me. If he's making that kind of money in a month, he'll make more than I could make in 10 lifetimes. Kelly, he's a drama queen, starvation. Jane Rice is extreme. It sounds made up. It's so bad I realize it's not actually made up. Yeah, that's true. Let me try to keep going. Kelly saying to someone, glad you joined. This is packed with important info. After it's over, please watch everything before this point. Unreal stuff. Jet Set. I hope you're still here. He sounds J12 loco for sure. I like that comment. Yeah, in regards to trying to sue Gabby Giffords and pretend to be her shooter, remember, with a civil case, you don't have to show any ID. Put your date of birth, your address, or your social security number down. Okay? You could say you're Mickey Mouse and go in and file that claim under Mickey Mouse. You don't have to prove identity. Now, you might to a judge, but not to do the filing. So as a joke, he filed what a, starts with the letter D. I think we know what she's talking about. J12, never heard of that one. Yeah, if you'd like to explain that, if you're still here, Jet Set, explain the J12 comment. Country Roads with Michelle. Hello, Michelle. This joker has his nose in all the well-known cases. Yeah, it seems that way. I still don't understand the Cosby one comment, though, about offering a convicted rapist. I don't know what he meant by that. Jet Set says the J code was used by some police departments back in the day, mostly where I grew up in Kansas. Okay, thank you, Jet Set. In California, we call it 5150. It's a 5150. And it's funny because this company that I worked for, there were two halves of the company, and most people were hired in the PI side that were PIs, and I was still a trainee investigator at that time, but then I did get licensed while I was there, and we worked for like the most famous people in the world. And then they had the security side that was mostly police officers. I was one of the hybrids that worked both sides, and therefore I was considered one of their top agents. And for banking purposes and for payroll purposes, you were getting paid for a gig either because it was PI or you were getting paid for a gig because it was 5150. So that's what we call it here. It's the California Criminal Code. It's the California Penal Code for the criminally insane. Kelly says, I work in a psychiatric hospital for 35 years. I could have put that code to good use. Yeah. Yes, Rita, it's ridiculous how people abuse the system. Jet Set says to Kelly, oh, yes, definitely, because most people don't know it. People in my family and friends do. So, like in a crowd, if we're talking about crazy person, we can say J12. Yeah, I'd never heard that. But you know what? I didn't grow up in Kansas. Lost my spot. Oh, Kelly, that's great. I'm putting that in my vocabulary next time I go to an Alabama Tide game. Roll Tide, baby. Kelly, that's why your show is so compelling, April. It's because you feel this info deeply. Yeah, I haven't slept in like 2 nights. And then the cat has been screaming so much. And she's not sick. She's not hungry. It's just this. She's just, I hate to say it. She's like her namesake, who I loved so much as my friend, but she's a little J12. Kelly says I won't ever watch his channel. I kind of feel guilty when I do tune in. And I'm not saying that I like the guy or dislike the guy, but, I fought crime for 42 years. Things like that bother me because I've seen this one case. I worked for the state of California. Well, I've worked several for the state. I was working the top number one state case, or the top number one professional claimant for California. And then I got, this one's number two. And those were, and like everybody in California, politicians, the Bureau, police agencies, everybody knew about these people. And it's just, and I've worked for private people too, where they're getting set up and it's a professional plaintiff. And sometimes it can be a husband and a wife. It's like a business. Melissa, hey, how you doing? Welcome back. Good day, mate. Melissa's from Australia. That's amazing. I would never thought in a million years that people from Australia and New Zealand and as far away as India, Brazil, would continually come in. That's amazing. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Country Roads with Michelle. I look forward to your shows. Thank you so much. And Kelly is asking, where is Melissa from in Australia? Jet Set. I agree with this. I am praying for a wireless world. I hate cords. I wish we could have a word or a world without passcodes and usernames and having to change them every so many days, especially in the PI business. And then you have to have double verification, and it can take 10 minutes just to sign in. Jay, welcome, Jay. You may want to come in from the beginning on the replay. You can't check them after date of hire? Absolutely not in California. You'll be sued. They have to sign a pre-employment investigative agreement with both the employer and with the investigative agency. And I've had to warn clients about this. That I used to have this old couple. They had a business. I can't tell you what kind, but it was the biggest west of the Mississippi. They were the nicest people I ever met. And they would swear up and down, like, hey, we're going to do a background on somebody. We want to hire you directly, not through the state. We want to hire you directly, but for our personal stuff, not for our claims. They knew me from the state, from claims, but they wanted to hire me separately to handle some of their business transactions, which was perfectly legal because it had nothing to do with their insurance claims. And they swore up and down that they didn't hire this girl. They didn't promise her a job. She hadn't started yet. I said, you can't even offer a job to any of these people. All you can do is legally take applications, hand them to me. I'll give you the paperwork for you to sign, and they have to sign. And then certain things have to be put in the report, and if things can't be proven. And then they admitted very early on, like, well, we kind of promised her the job already. And this was after I'd done the investigation. And I was like, do you realize that you're going to get sued? I'm going to get sued. And then I'm going to have to say that, you lied to me. And, you're going to have to pay my legal expenses on this, because even though I'll win the case, I'll have to pay for the lawyer. The insurance companies, they're not going to pay for my lawyer. At least I don't think. So yeah. And then some people were then suspected as being criminals after they were hired because they didn't do the damn background investigation that was pre-employment. And I'm like, you can't do it now. And they're like, no, but this person is living on the property with my parents. And I'm like, you should have done it before. You could fire them, but then they're not your employees anymore. And then we can look into them. Okay. Pudding pops for Cosby? Oh, okay. You can't check them after date of hire. Absolutely not in California. Curmudge. The Cosby thing was because it was alleged that Cosby put roofies in the Jell-O or pudding. Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? I actually, oh God, I can't say her name because she's a client of the guy that just came to my door. If I had to run to go see my friend DeAndre, she's a client of his. And I've met her. She's a very famous person and a very famous movie star. I mean, he works with everybody, but I can't just say the names. And they're like walking through this building like all the time, like Oscar winners and stuff. And they're all he just leaves the door open in the summer, and everybody just walks in like, hey, and you'll see like some of the biggest people in the music industry or the movie industry. And one of these women, just a number of years ago, came out and reported something about Bill Cosby that happened in New York when she was young. And she said, I didn't want to jump on the Cosby bandwagon, but she had been carrying this for years. And she didn't get abused because she got out of there before it happened. But she's had to live with that stress for years. And I know this woman personally. I know her kids. Like, if she said it happened, I believe her. I would just like to throw my arms around her. What a scumbag that guy was. And you know what? When I was a kid, I would question my parents about him. And I'm like, well, I don't like the way the credit says this because that's honorary and that's not real. And that means he's fake. When I was a little kid, I was like, he's fake. Yeah. Jet Set says 5150. Good to know. Yes, the California Penal Code, the California Penal Criminal Code for criminally insane. I think of him as a sensationalist making mountains out of molehills. Yes, Kermudge. And he's a professional YouTuber. If you want to watch a professional YouTuber who's not a dirtbag, who's actually a really good person, and his wife she's just beautiful, watch Kermudge in Alaska. See how the other half lives. Sue Brock Schmidt. Hi, everyone. Hi to you, Sue. I'm sorry I'm so behind on the chat, but I had to. And there's still one more page I have to go over that I haven't even talked about yet. The black sheep. Oh, Kermudge, Kelly, he was driving earlier and couldn't comment, but he's been here from the beginning listening in the background. The Black Sheep 2020. Hi, April. Hello, the Black Sheep 2020. Welcome in. Where are you coming in from? Oh, Kermudge says I was driving, Kelly. Okay. Let's see. Jet Set. Yeah, I got to be really careful because I've got contracts and non-disclosure agreements with some of the biggest people in the world, and they're still in effect for the rest of my life. So I could tell you the greatest stories, but I wouldn't be able to name the names. We could do a whole series on that. Just, oh my God. I don't think I have enough days left in my life to cover all the stories, but I could never say the names, even if you guess them right in the chat. Kermudge says, all hugs to you, April. Oh, thank you, April. You are a real YouTuber as well. Not yet. Not just a paid one. We all love you. Oh, well, I love you too, Kermudge. I really do. You guys are I feel like you're my personal friends. But he's out in the bush. He's off the grid in Alaska. And I'll never make it there in this lifetime. But we will meet someday. Brahim out my ghost. Hello, Brahim. And okay, caught up, and it looks like, from what I can see, YouTube has fixed. Can I speak here? Fiji water. Sometimes I have to treat myself to Arrowhead or Fiji because this is the good stuff, especially with all I've been through with my kidney. So thanks for the red roses. Those are my favorite, red roses and pink roses or the hybrids. Okay, here's another little piece of paper I printed out from the internet. I tried to print out what I read to you regarding the post, but there's too many pop-ups and I couldn't print it. This is a question somebody put in. This was in Google. Excuse me. It says, how many lawsuits has Jonathan Lee Riches filed? Jonathan Lee Riches is infamous for filing an extraordinary number of lawsuits, reportedly over 4,000, targeting a wide range of individuals and organizations. His legal actions have included prominent figures like Bill Gates, former U.S. President George W. Bush, Pope Benedict XVI, and even his own mother. And, I wanted to tell you guys early on in the case, but I didn't want him to come and, try to sue me. But apparently there's a federal injunction against him that he can't sue anybody. And, I'm telling you, I actually like listening to him. You like hybrids too, and orange roses. Yeah, my favorite are red. The next favorite is pink, and the hybrids. Yeah, makes me think about my friend whose birthday is on the 28th, who's no longer with us. Those pink hybrids were her favorite. You can't make that up as mom. Well, that's according to the internet. And remember, not everything you see on the internet is real. But he did serve time for 10 years in a federal prison. And they don't put you in federal prison for misdemeanors. For misdemeanors, you go to jail. But in California, anything over a year's time, so a crime that you commit that would get you a minimum of 1 year in a federal or a state prison, those are felonies. And the feds, they don't go after people for misdemeanors as far as I know. They get a fine or whatever. This is hardcore felony stuff. But I didn't mention any of it until the restraining order information came out. And remember, he has not yet been charged for that. And my question is, if he currently lives in Florida and the ex-girlfriend is claiming this from Arkansas, but the alleged incidents happen in Washington, specifically the one that happened on Christmas Eve, has she filed this in Washington or has she filed this in Arkansas? I'm not sure. Did we talk about that? That's something I would like to check on because I'd like to see a copy of it. Remember, I had a copy of the arrest warrant on Timothy Busfield, and I talked about it in one or two of my videos, but I finally got, every time I looked at it, it kind of made me cringe, even though I don't think he's going to be found guilty at all for this most recent accusation. But I just don't like all the other stuff that I found out. Like, ugh, it just, and he always kind of creeped me out. Even when I heard that Melissa Gilbert hooked up with him, I was like, ugh. And then I felt guilty. Like, well, why would I say that about a guy I never met? He could be a wonderful man. And, and then all this creepy stuff came out. And I was like, I knew it. And when I was a little kid and we still lived in Mobile and the Cosby Show had started, when I was still young. And I was like, how come it says he's a PhD of education and he's Dr. William, whatever, middle initial Cosby, doctorate of blah, 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 blah. It was like 3 lines long. And it's only honorary. I said, but that's not a real degree. I said, that means he's a fake person. He's fake. And my parents were so shocked that I was just a child. And I was like, yeah, but if he doesn't really have those degrees and they're honorary, then he's not a real doctor. He's not a real PhD. He's fake. Okay. Jay says my mom like yellow roses. My best friend from Thailand, she loves gold because, the Asians love the 24 karat pure gold. 24 karat gold? Let me show you something here. I'm not going to show you 24 karat. I'm going to show you raw gold. Kermudge is probably the only one here from the gold community that would understand that. That is raw gold. Raw gold is not 24 karat. It's anywhere between 18 to 22, although I have heard it can be found in Australia. I should live in Australia. If I wasn't disabled, maybe I'd go to Australia because some of the gold in the ground in Australia could be as high as 23 karat. But 24 gold karat jewelry that you buy in a jewelry store or jewelry mart, that's made, that's manufactured, where all the other minerals are taken out. And my friend who loves 24 karat gold, as most of the Asian women do, her favorite roses are yellow. Mine are red, second pink, third is hybrid. Kelly, my dad was still alive during the Cosby Show. He always said he would not watch it because the guy creeped him out. Well, your dad was a good man, Kelly. I remember your dad. If my mom and I turned on the show, he will get up and leave the room. He must have had spidey senses too. Joey, hey, welcome in. Okay, I don't quite understand your comment, Joey, and I think that's inappropriate. Have a nice day, Joey. Barbara, so you're from California and you can't talk about what I said because Halsey and the other ones out there, then after me out there, and the Clintons, and I've been through hell and back. I have no idea what you're talking about, Barbara. I'm from California and you can't talk about what I said. Yeah, don't know what you're talking about, Barbara. I'm sorry. Jay says soft. Oh. Refining gold is a PETA? I'm not sure what you're saying. Most of the gold I find is 20 or 22K. Is that the gold in Alaska where you are? Because I hear it's pretty high in Alaska. Where some of the lower 48, I've heard that it's, much lower. But see, I'm not an expert on this because I've never prospected like in the wild, like I did with metal detecting. That was in the wild, standing in the ocean with the dolphins and literally seeing in Malibu. I saw a couple of orcas and it was on my birthday. And it was just like the most special thing in my life that, a couple of orcas came by. Different errors, the carrots is up and down. Alaska, it is pretty good. Curmudge, I read on Wikipedia I kept hearing about the Klondike, and I didn't really know what that was because it was like, I guess, in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And I read the whole story online about the Klondike and the gold rush that was in Alaska and British Columbia, and it was absolutely fascinating. Jay says Arkansas has a gold field pretty much picked over. I didn't know that. I know they have the diamond fields, which I would love to do that. And as a child, I've driven through Arkansas quite a bit. I would have loved to gone to those diamond farms. Apparently, they have some sort of gemstone farms in San Diego, and I'm only about 130 miles from San Diego. But the last time I got to San Diego, I had to go there for court on an emergency basis, and it took me 12 hours. I got there quickly, was there for a few hours, and then, oh my God, the ride home was like driving from LA to Tucson almost, or LA to Phoenix. It was just god awful. I spent a lot of time as a little kid in San Diego and visited there in 1981 when I was a kid with my parents. But I didn't even know that until recently that San Diego has like gemstone farms, and you dig in the dirt and you pull out gems. Jetsep says, yes, Kelly, it is legal in Alaska. I have bought it there. Maybe it was a diamond field. Yeah, I don't know. Is there gold in Arkansas or just diamond fields? Yeah, Kermudge, that's true. My brothers live in Huntington Beach area. He dislikes the drive from LA to his place. Takes hours. Yeah, at the wrong time of the day. I mean, theoretically, Disneyland is 45 minutes away. But between Anaheim and LA, in the evening traffic, afternoon traffic, it can take 4 hours. So I had like a 12-hour day between the drive down there and hanging out for a few hours and I went through like a fast food drive-through on the way home just to eat. I didn't even stop to eat. I just grabbed a bag, and it was awful, and I ate in the car. I could never physically do that now. I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't even make it to Huntington Beach now. Jet set. I advocated for pain, but I am a hippie from the 60s. Hey, welcome in. The most famous hippie I've ever met was David Crosby and his wife Jan, but yet they were just wonderful people. Worked with them a couple times, maybe 2 or 3 times on the John Larroquette show. What a nice guy. And it was in the 90s, but it was like it was 1960. That's long before my time, but you know. We're getting off topic here. But also, let me scroll back to this article I read. It says it's on the top, it says California Post, but on the web, where you type in, it says it says NewYorkPost.com and then California Post. So I guess they have a California section. And boy, he looked really different when he was young. Jonathan Lee Riches leads his own YouTube channel, JLR Investigates, where he appears at crime scenes and spins theories. That's a good word. See, that's why these people are professional writers, and I'm not a professional writer. Then there's a picture of this Jamie Tennille, like Captain and Tennille, like Tony Tennille. Jamie Tennille Phillips dated Riches from 2023 until an explosive fight over Christmas last year in Washington State, which she says left her with serious injuries. Now remember, everybody, these are only allegations. And I'll say it again. According to the handwritten affidavit, I'll have to find that. If somebody can find that and email it to me before I can find it, please do so. The alleged December 24th assault left Phillips with extreme injuries, including a broken nose plus septum. You have to have surgery for that if it's a broken septum. Significant trauma to my head and ribs requiring emergency medical care, CT scans, so those suck, and I've had way too many, and x-rays, and that she will need reconstructive surgery. If she has a deviated septum, absolutely. But these are only allegations. We don't know that, she could have a deviated septum because somebody else smacked her around or she had a car accident. I mean, these are just the claims. But whatever evidence that she produced, it was enough for a judge to say, granted. But it's only temporary because there still has to be a hearing. And he has not been charged with a crime. She also alleges ongoing harassment after Christmas incident, which took place in Washington State, including threats, intimidation, and financial abuse. Does this guy have a real job, or is he like I described some of my cases, just a professional plaintiff? Because apparently he hasn't won hardly any of these cases. But yet all the people that have had to fight it, think of the thousands of dollars in legal fees each and every one of them had to pay to fight it. It was January 21st of this year that the court issued an order of protection, finding there was sufficient evidence that Phillips faced an immediate and present danger of domestic abuse. Riches has not responded to the allegations, and he and his lawyer did not return the Post's request for comment. Well, of course you're not going to comment. And the person or the county in Washington that handled the incident, as far as the police report, I don't know if it's Chelan or Chelan, Chelan County Sheriff's Office, sent the Post an incident report, which says they had probable cause to arrest Riches, but they never did because he left the state. And he has not been formally charged, and there's no warrants that we know of or they know of. I'm kind of surprised if they went to arrest him, they had an arrest warrant, and then they couldn't find him, and there's not a warrant. Chelan, pronounced Chelan. Thank you. I would have never guessed that. I learned something out, and I will have to look it up. Phillips herself, just to see where it is. I'm just curious now. Phillips herself has a colorful past. having been accused in 2017 of fabricating a story about being impregnated by Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore as a teenager. Allegations only. Now, there's a picture of her here. And it says, Phillips claimed she helped Riches turn his life around and build up his YouTube channel, but he was frequently abusive towards her, as she claims. There's a picture of him out front with the cops right in front of him. He's right in front of the memorial in front of Nancy's house, and it says, Jonathan Lee Riches films outside of Nancy Guthrie's home in Tucson, Arizona. Riches spent a number of weeks broadcasting from Guthrie's house in Arizona, but some of his theories and evidence have been challenged. I have to agree with that. Now they're standing in front of a beach. Riches with Phillips in happier times. She now accuses him of domestic abuse and has a restraining order against him granted. Oh, so she's actually, it's more than a TLO, because the TLO is what you serve on them, and then once it goes to court, it's either denied or it's accepted, and then the TLO turns into an actual restraining order. So I'm sorry if I misspoke earlier. Remember, I'm old now, and I've been through just a lot of crap. So she would have filed the TLO. He would have had to have been served, or it wouldn't be sufficient. At least in this state, you have to serve. And you can't drop it off at a mail drop, which you can for like summons and complaint. Like for a TLO, it has to be served on the person directly. So she then went for the hearing, wherever that was. I don't even know which state, because we got 3 states involved here now. Okay. Just looking at some of these pictures. There's a really good one where he's wearing the yarmulke. Is it a yarmulke or is it a ball cap turned back? To me, it looked like a Jewish yarmulke, but it's hard to tell because he's got like a shaved head. Jews for Trump. Riches says he has no religious affiliation, but has passed himself off as Jews for Trump supporter. I guess that means he's a MAGA. He has also posed as a Muslim and attended rallies for both Trump and Hillary Clinton. Fake. Didn't we say that about Bill Cosby? Kelly says, this is one of your best segments I have heard. I wanted to talk to you guys for so long. If you still want to watch them, that's fine. If you want to send them a goddamn super chat, go ahead. It's not going to offend me. I'm just trying to get enough funds here to pay myself back when I got tangled up in my ring lamp. And somebody, I can't remember who it was, because she only came in like for one show, and I didn't even mention the problems with the ring lamp. And then she was like, hey, I got an extra ring lamp. I can send it to you. Go ahead. The business address is in the main channel page. I haven't seen it yet, but I don't go to the business box every day. Usually every week to 10 days. Or a lot of times somebody picks it up for me, just in case, there's a security issue. No, I'm glad for the info. Don't ever need to view his stuff. Okay. It's hard to tell if it's a beanie or a yarmulke, because this is a different picture of him taken in Connecticut. Riches is swarmed by press after identifying himself as Jonathan Lanza, uncle of Adam Lanza in Newtown, Connecticut. Yeah, if this was a long-form content, I would record myself and then put myself in a little box, and I would show you all these pictures along the way. But since I'm not operating off of OBS, I can't switch screens like a professional YouTuber. Somebody's going to have to actually physically come to my house and say, this is how you use OBS for live streams. It's very complicated. Let's see. Remember, they didn't even have computers when I was in school. Now, this one really, I think this one gets me the most, even more than the despicable behavior for Sandy Hook. Posing as Jared Lochner, the gunman who tried to assassinate Gabrielle Giffords, also known as Gabby Giffords. That was in Tucson, Arizona. And the guy that did that, I didn't remember that he had already killed 6 people. And he only got 5 years of probation. So he sued Gabby Giffords from federal prison for $25 million using a fake name of a real convicted felon. Did Jared Loughner survive or was he taken down? I can't remember. Because I know in the Sandy Hook incident, the Adam Lanza kid, he took his mother out, then he went to the school and unalived the children, 6 staff members, and then himself. But he later told the Arizona Republic that he filed the fake lawsuit, the one against Giffords, as a joke to entertain himself in prison. Then they took his paper away, and he went on a hunger strike, and they had to feed tube. They had to feed him via a feeding tube? There's something wrong with this guy. And some people can rehab, but usually professional claimants, which refers to insurance claims, or plaintiffs, which refers to lawsuits, and mostly felons. Very few felons are rehabbed. That's why, there was a guy that just got out in LA and he's already killed another person. And he killed 2 people, but he was already out because we don't have room. And, you do this, okay, you're going to get out in 10 minutes. 2 people killed, and he's already out walking the streets, and he's already killed somebody. And the people are like, oh, he killed somebody. Like, yeah, because you don't rehab in prison. And obviously, I guess he didn't. So the estimate is 2,500 to 4,000 civil suits. But I'm telling you, that would be an impossible number to calculate unless you had somebody who could physically be in every courthouse in the United States to check the records. Because there is no national database for civil. It's not possible. And then you'd also have to know the aliases, because how would you look him up if he wasn't going by Jonathan Lee Riches and he was going by Jared Loughner, or Mickey Mouse? And we don't know that this woman who now is apparently in Arkansas, who's filed a restraining order, she could be full of BS too. She, birds of a feather stick together. So if he's a crappy person, she might be too. This could all be made up. I'm not going to say that he's guilty. I'm just going to say that, his past criminal history should be known about the wire fraud, scamming people for over $90,000 in a criminal ring. He faced multiple charges. I wonder where he got the money from for the payback that he owed to the victims. I bet that's still hanging in the wind. And I'm not investigating this guy. This is just, you can go to Google. You don't even have to put in his name. Just type in JLR investigates. And I did that from the beginning because the very first time that I watched him, when he was still at home somewhere near Tampa, I hear. I don't think he says his exact location. That's why he's like, I bet if I did a background on him, his address history would be a mile long. But I'm not going to do that because I wouldn't waste my time. I don't investigate for fun when I'm off the real clock. Friends who used to always say that, like, oh, let's go in the car, let's go hang out, and let's investigate. And it's like, no, this is just my job. If I'm, when a cop is on duty, he's a cop. He or she is a cop. But when they're off duty and they're at home, they're not in their uniform. Most of them don't even carry a gun, and they're just like a normal person. I'm not going to spend my time or money to do a background on this creep. He found a legal loophole. In regards to what? I'm just so and I'm telling you, it doesn't bother me at all that he's making $25,000 to $30,000 a week, allegedly. I do think that commenter that said, oh, you're making $100 every 10 minutes on your super chats, that's probably true, and it's probably an underestimate. But I don't mind that at all because it shows me that type of audience and that type of income is possible. Now, I'm never going to do that amount. I'm too busy being in and out of the hospital and just trying to stay alive. If I never expected to have the follow count that I have. Let me see how much I have today. Let me check my dashboard. As of right now, 2,214. Never thought I made it past 500. Here we are. Ways to abuse the legal system and abusing YouTube. Really? Yeah. They went to arrest him, but apparently he'd already left the state of Washington. So, and just think about how many things people like this may have done that they haven't been tagged for yet. It's like arresting someone for unaliving somebody, but there's a body count of 20 and those other cases never come up. And I wonder what I've seen on my cases where people, why did they do these things? Like being professional claimants or professional plaintiffs, it's usually some kind of sickness. It's just like a compulsive liar. It's like the people that throw themselves downstairs, or I've seen cases where people will cut a finger off or cut a hand off. A guy that worked for me had the case where somebody cut his hand off, and it was a dentist, and they injected themselves with lidocaine and cut the hand off and went, well, my career's over. And then their multi-million-dollar disability policy kicked in. But that's crazy. Just retire, dude. Like, or the people that throw themselves down the stairs and break their back so they can have another spinal surgery because that's a guaranteed 6 months off. Like, wouldn't it just be easier just to go to work from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or 8 to 5? Come on. But they just constantly do it again and again and again and again. Now, I do have to give Arnold Schwarzenegger some credit. When he was briefly the governor of the state of California, he changed the laws when it came to certain types of insurance fraud. And now there's a lot of people have limits on what they can and cannot do if they've done it before. But that really hurts some of the workers that are really in a catastrophic situation. But yeah, this is just somebody abusing the legal system. And, I even got a text from somebody like, hey, did you hear this about JLR? Are you going to talk about it? And I had somebody come into my door and, all the messages kept, and I was just like, I can't talk about it right now, but thank you. Yeah, but I said I already know about him. And then the response was, wow. Like, and I hope she didn't think I was, I can't, I'm getting to the point where I can't answer every text and every email. Like this lady that came in and said, that I wasn't talking about what she said, and that, like, I've never seen your name before in my chat. I don't know what you're talking about. And if it's somebody that sent me an email, I haven't caught up to all the emails yet. Oh, and I did get an email last night from one of our regulars in here who said she really liked my Whatnot and thanks for the referral, or thanks for the $15. It didn't come from me. It comes from Whatnot. So I thank you, because when you get your package, if the mailman ever shows up and it gets into the system and you receive it, then I'll get a $5 buying credit. And I've already bought something from the last person from YouTube that there was another viewer that used the referral code, and I bought a teeny tiny piece of gold. But I had to pay my own shipping on it because it was only a $5 spending credit. Jay says they have a life not like TV. Ways to abuse the legal system and abusing YouTube, really. Reagan Justice. They can always speed up their speed on the rewatch. Yeah, I've had a couple people come in lately and they're like, I don't want to take the time to tune into you so I can see your face staring back at me, or just get to the video. Well, when I first go live, the count says 0. Then I turn on an iPad, which I have the iPad on, but not on YouTube right now. If I turn the iPad on YouTube, then it'll go up 1. And I'm like, oh, that 1, that's me, myself, and I. So why don't I just start talking about something important and yell it to the ceiling or the cat or the bunny? Like, no, I have to wait. And I tell people, like, if you're new here, or you're just watching this on the replay, feel free to fast forward through the first 3 to 5 minutes. It varies depending on what day, what time. Sometimes people come in within a minute or two. I'm not JLR. I'm sure as soon as he turns on, there's, 20,000 people watching in the first 30 seconds. And he can just start talking. My channel's not that big. It will never be that big. I don't have 15 hours a day. Physically, I can't do 15 hours a day. The fact that I'm going longer than 15 minutes, I've gone 90 minutes when I still feel like crap today, this is saying something. Leanne, the heck with those idiots. They have no clue. Disrespectful and hate. You know what? This is what's pushing me, Leanne, to get monetized again. Because I know that I'm never going to see a substantial amount of money, especially all the views that I've had in the last year. I did the math on that and I was like, wow, if I could go at that pace for the next 365 after I get monetized, I could actually make a few $100s a month, maybe. But for every one of those yahoos or idiots that come in and they're commenting on the videos or they're doing a thumbs up or even a thumbs down, that's engagement. And the more engagement that you have, like every time you guys are tapping the red hearts or the little smiley faces, that's engagement. It's just like on Whatnot, when you double tap for the yellow hearts, that's engagement. That catches the algorithm, the AI algorithm. It goes, oh, wow, there's 100 people in the show right now. And look at all those red hearts and look at all those thumbs up. And it continually builds. If you go over an hour, that helps. So I want the trolls. I don't care if you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's like a celebrity getting mad because there are pictures in the National Enquirer. And they're like, oh, that's a bad picture, or that's not true, and I'm going to sue you. And you know what? If you're in the National Enquirer, it means you're relevant. If you're in People magazine, and People's not what it used to be. Somebody else owns that now. It's not the same magazine anymore. But if you're in it, you're relevant. You're on TMZ. You're relevant. So I will never complain about, the trolls, but just listen and think about it for a moment when I come on, especially if you're watching on the playback. And that's one of the first things I say. I'm going to give it a few minutes for people to come in. And if you're watching this on the playback, please feel free to go to the beginning. Oh, thank you, Kelly. Not necessary, but I'm getting closer. Well, and they may not accept my application because remember, they didn't completely explain what I did before, even though all my videos passed the checks. Thank you, Donna. And you've been one of the binge watchers too. Thank you so much. So the current count is 2,214 subscribers. I only need 1,000. And I'm at 3,582 valid public watch hours, not including shorts, which doesn't count for this count. And I already hit a week ago the 3,000 mark, and they should have sent me an offer to at least do the partial. That hasn't come, and maybe because I was monetized before and they went, you're gone, and you can come back in 90 days. But then I went delete, 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 delete. Oh, maybe it's this one, maybe it's that one, and all my watch hours went. And then I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I wish I had saved some of those just for myself. Sometimes I like to lay in bed at night and just rewatch some of my stuff to see if I made a mistake or. Oh, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Donna. Yeah. So, like I said, since February 2nd, that's probably the most donations I've ever got for my channel. $14. And I spent 60 some just to get the equipment. And the cord for my my lamp is going to catch fire any day. And I'm going to have to I'll have to either wait until a new one comes in, or I'll just have to talk to you guys in the damn dark. This apartment is very dark, especially at night. Thank you, Rita. You're awesome too. So, yeah, I'm not asking for anything. I'm just, let's just keep watching, getting me those views. Now, if somebody does want to send something, the links are on the main page. my friend that came in, she said I could mention her name and it was fine. The user is Sant1982. She's the one that used my referral code yesterday or whatnot, and she bought 3 things. I won't discuss what she bought, but I was like, oh wow, sales are coming in through the marketplace. I wasn't even on the air. I didn't do a live show. I've only done 2 since December because I've been too busy having surgeries. It's March. It's almost April. I've done like 2 shows. And the last show was minus 78 cents until one of my apps, or one of my mods sent in $1. Thank you. Which made me plus 22 cents. But I decided that doesn't count for YouTube. But I did put it towards the microphone fund. And these are only temporaries. These are not the ones that I want. I want to get some Rode Wi-Fi mics, and they're expensive. And I want to have at least 2 in case one goes down during the lives or during just, I could be doing a long form content, or I could be, anything. I could be out in the field, and I always carry these with me. So I need a couple more for sure. One of my friends that came over yesterday to pick something up, her husband had just bought her a brand new iPhone 17 Pro Max, and I was like, oh, I almost cried. I was like, I'm happy for you, but I need that so bad. And he bought her a pink case, and it was over her shoulder like a purse. If you're watching, you know who you are. Yeah, I'm like, oh, that would help me so much. But let's put that on the bottom of the to-do list. So we're on an old, crappy iPhone 13 that doesn't have the right camera in it. But I'm not complaining. But yeah, Sant 1982, thank you so much. That just, gave me a little mental boost. That's good because the brain is like, hey, yeah, this is something good happened today. And it just kind of, lifts you up. So yeah, I'm not here to bash anybody, but I figured out this guy's routine from day one because my spidey senses went up and I thought, oh my God. And then I thought, just give it time and something will come out. Something will break during the Nancy Guthrie case about some of the criminals' allegations. And I'm not talking about the one, the actual criminal felony charges where he served 10 years in prison, allegedly. Well, he did. He served 10 years in prison. So they're reporting he was in a federal penitentiary. I'd love to know what state. I'll have to look up the National Prison Database because sometimes people that have already been let out, they're still in there. They keep those records for a long time. Yeah. Be nice to know where he was at. Club Fed, they call it. Apparently, it's nothing like being in a county jail or a state prison. I hear something at my door. I don't want my packages or DeAndre's package to disappear since I can't see behind me. I should have the camera facing the window, but still someone could come in from the lobby and you wouldn't be able to see it on my camera. I like this channel because it's fact-based and critical thinking and not just a bunch of hype nonsense. Thank you. And, I do still say, feel free to send me an email, aprildavispi@gmail.com, but it will be kept private. I don't know if the woman that came in that sounded like she was mad, maybe she sent me emails. Somebody has sent me, I don't even remember the name, but they're so long. And it's like, it would take hours for me to go through it all. I'm doing the best I can, everybody. We're trying to build. Lexington was where JLR was imprisoned. Would that be Lexington, Kentucky? Oh, thank you, Jay. Yeah, you've been following me from the beginning on this. I appreciate you. I know I came on like way early today, so hopefully some of the other usuals can come in after the fact. Even yesterday's video, I looked at the numbers and it was like, oh boy, and it was a decent video about Nancy, and it's just the numbers are just tanking. That's why the binge watching, even this, there's hardly anybody that's come in. Like, I mean, I appreciate every single one of you, but it says this video has got 107 views. Like 107? I'll know more when I end it out, and it'll show like over the whole course of the 90 minutes, or now it's 100. And YouTube is always behind as far as how many people. I'll take a little screenshot when it's done. But yeah, the last couple days, the views are just going. But I think I have enough to apply once they calculate them, because it takes 5 days for them to calculate. And then I hear that when you apply, it can take, or reapply, it can take anywhere between 48 hours and 30 days for them to give you an answer. And if they turn you down, they're not going to tell you why they turned you down, and then you have to wait 30 days to try again. And then if they get to turn you down the second time, you have to wait 90 days. And by that time, most people after the second try, they just give up. I got a guy in the gold industry, I'm not going to name him, but he does Patreon, and he sells bags of gold, and he's making a ton of money from YouTube, but he's not monetized. He's not getting paid for his views, but he's selling gold bags, and he's got good merch. He's got good swag, and I've never been ripped off by him, and everybody knows he's one of the top people, that you can buy the gold pay dirt from, and he has Patreon, which I don't think I would ever do. I mean, you guys can always become channel members once all of that stuff is reactivated. But he's like, after the second try, and they won't even tell him why they won't allow it. But I think it has something to do with the financials, though, because people are sending him money for like bags of gold, and maybe that's like sus to them. I don't know, but he's he's probably paying his rent with what he's making off the gold profit. So good for him. Like I said, I've never did this for the money, but if I could ever get remonetized and just make back every dime that I've spent just to pay myself back for the expenses, and be able to upgrade the phone, and have a ring light that's not ready to catch my house on fire, and have the correct mics to sit at the desk, or to have them in the field with me, have an extra set in my purse if I'm out in the field, have an extra tripod to put in the back seat of the car. It's all the little stuff that adds up. I just got my bill for Epidemic Sound. Yeah, it's not cheap. There's editing software I have to pay for now, and that's a lot. But thank you. The fact that you guys did tune in today when I went early means the world to me. If you are coming in on the playback, thank you so much. I appreciate you too. And I don't know how do you guys feel that I reported about this? I was scared to do so at first, and then when the allegations about, well, the TRO that the woman had filed, and then she went to a hearing and they accepted it, which means it's an official restraining order. It was like, I was thinking, okay, I think I do have enough. Unless something breaks, Kelly, I'm going to be eating, hydrating, and doing me some baseball, and probably like trying to answer as many comments as I can, and look at the emails, and if anybody does decide to send something to the business address for any reason, just give me a heads up somewhere. You can just send me an email and say, hey, check your business box in a couple days or something like that, because I don't always go all the time. Let me know. And that will remind me I should always have cash on hand, because they do charge pickup fees. Even if it just was delivered 5 minutes before I walked in the door, I still have to pay to pick it up. So that's where all these little dollars will go. But you don't have to send anything. I need the views. Just keep watching, and hopefully over time it'll maybe it'll build a lot faster now that I hit the 2K mark. Would have never guessed that. Like I said, I'm not here for the money. This is what I do, and having all the health stuff has been hard, and I still do occasional work, but I can only do a little bit. I'm too busy being in the hospital, being at the doctor, and fighting for my life, it seems. Hey, Mary Bell. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, you're going to have to watch the playback. It's up to 105 minutes now, so before I sign off, if you guys, want to, I know I had to answer a lot of your questions after I read through all of this, but I hope I said everything correctly. I hope you enjoyed it. If you feel that you still want to watch that guy, fine. It won't bother me a bit. I'll probably check in every now and then. But I don't approve of his behavior, especially if it's true that he struck a woman. That's despicable. But we don't know that that's true. Hi, Douglas Bill. And someone who does have such a sordid past is wearing a target on their back, actually, for someone to come after them. These people are going to be like, it's like the boy that cried wolf. They're not going to believe him because he cried wolf and there was no wolf. And then when there really was, people are like, oh, yeah, you scumbag. You're a liar. I mean, he may not be guilty of the restraining order allegations at all. But I'm glad you learned something, Jane. Thank you for coming in, Douglas. We're just getting ready to go off the air. I've got 17 people still in the room and 29 thumbs ups. So smash that like button. I hope you're subscribed. If you are, make sure your bell icon is clicked to all, and make sure on your phone, on the back end in your settings, that your YouTube notifications are turned on. If you want to send an email, aprildavispi@gmail.com. If you want to send anything to the business address in Studio City, it's on the main page. I'll also put it in the channel description on the back end. And feel free to watch the videos. The shorts views aren't helping me right now at all as far as gaining the momentum on the hours. So click the video tab, or click the live tab, or go to the playlist. There's something here for everybody. I hope everybody has a good evening. Or in California, we're still in the afternoon. So good afternoon.